Why, hello YouTube. Welcome back. This is Baylor Mage again, and we're doing a little bit of an update on our Holy Relic. What I will say is that we did not league start Holy Relic. I decided I wanted to league start something different in this Necro Settlers event because I had league started Holy Relic so many times. I was like, surely I should do something different. And that lasted like 4 days or something. And then I was like, this is miserable. I could just be Holy Relic. Nothing is as good as Holy Relic. So I re-rolled, and now we are absolutely blasting 12 mod maps on a pretty reasonable budget with no Animate Guardian, no Spectres, no anything. We're doing it with the all flame mods that are in this league, which is insane because they are much harder, and doing 12 mod corrupted maps with them up is dangerous. So touching real quick on the Necro Settlers event, if you haven't given this event a go yet, I have to implore you to give it a go because it is significantly better than was advertised. I am still to this day a little bit mad that they advertised the event the way that they did, because the advertising for it was a little bit poo-poo. We were like, oh, okay, so some maps are going to have 5% chance for Chaos Orbs, and like, that's it. And like, that doesn't really sound like enough to drag me back. When I came to play, I assumed that I would play it for like a few days as a little gimmick and then move on to like other things, but it turned out to be way better than that. All of the all flames from the Necropolis League are just randomly applied to all of our maps. So now we're getting all the specialty mobs, which means we're getting all the tattoos and extra Stygian vices and maps that drop 40 different quality gems from Gemling Legionnaires, and maps that hand out mobs that hand out sulfite, and just every mob type, including the tumbling wealth, the little rolling chaos orb heads. They just randomly appear, and then you're like, oh, this map for the next hour drops 100 chaos on the floor. So like it's actually significantly better, and I really wish they'd done a better job of advertising how good this was so that more people would play it. But if you haven't given it a go, come give it a go. It's way better than the regular league. It's definitely fun. It's definitely something you should invest like a little bit of time into. Play one character. Also, we've got like 3 more weeks before POE 2, so what else are you gonna do? All we're all really doing is waiting for POE 2 to launch, so absolutely give it a go. But let's jump in game and we'll have a look at what has gone different with the Holy Relic build. Okay. So here we are. We re-rolled just a few days ago, so we're already level 95. I just hit that last night. We're still doing Dialas, obviously. You may notice a few things that I don't normally do. I've got a replica Dragonflight on instead of Dragon Fangs, rather, instead of the Ashes this time. Still a super valid option. Absolutely fine. The reason I went with it is this and the Ashes were similarly priced, but to use an Ashes in this setup and still reach the 82% quality breakpoint, you need to have a successful quality corrupted Holy Relic. There are none to buy. I'm on my second round of leveling them. I've put 7 of them into temples so far and still not hit a 21, 23. Just a 23 would be enough. But until we get that, we can't even use an Ashes, and really Ashes is only like slightly better than this setup anyway, so not needing a quality gem made this better. I do not have fully leveled Woke gems. I do not have over leveled empowers, enhancers. I don't have any corruptions on anything like that, but you may notice if you didn't see the video before league start that I also don't have an Animate Guardian and Spectres. We have not used Animate Guardian or Spectres at all. Don't even have a gem. Absolutely no use. The point of this version of Holy Relic was to dumb it down even more, make it so I have to think even less during maps than I had to think before, which means I don't want any minions that can possibly die and cause me anguish. The most amount of work I want to do if a minion dies is this. Oh, there he is. He's back. No problem. So our Holy Relics do die sometimes, not very often. Sometimes, but you just press the button, they come back out again. There's absolutely nothing else going on. You may notice there's a Chaos Golem. That was not in my league start plan. However, we came to the conclusion that I could just put a 2020 Chaos Golem into my trigger weapon and then we don't have to worry about whether it dies either. It just gets resummoned every 8 seconds. There's a brand new one. So we get that physical damage reduction for free to replace the rest of our minions. We do have a Herald of Purity in our hat. Its job is to do all the utility support stuff. It does all the utility support stuff that my Animate Guardian Inspectors gave up. Well, not all of it, but enough of it that it's fine. So it's linked with Cull to give us Cull back. We did not have Cull because that used to come from our Kingmaker. So that alone is like 11% more damage. It gave us Feeding Frenzy. So now we've got that 10% more damage buff. And this is the least important link, the one you can absolutely do without. Summon Phantasm support. The reason we're using this is because without it we have 8 minions, and the Bone Barrier Ascendancy node says you get reduced physical damage reduction per minion up to 10%. So I'm missing 2. There would need to be 2 more minions for that. It is not worth using a Chaos Golem of the Hordes because it's 1% per extra minion, and the Chaos Golem on its own gives 5%. Or 6 if you include the buff effect, which we should. So that's already better. So we're just chucking that in, and we've got the Summon Phantasms for the last 2. Again, we can absolutely replace that. One other thing that's a little bit different from the pre-event guide is in my shield I've got Purifying Flame. This is very up for debate. I was using Frostbomb for a while, now I'm using Purifying Flame. They're both good for different reasons. Frostbomb just automates 50% reduced effective regen on everything around me all the time, so just countering their regen. This instead gives me and my minions 4% regen and 50% reduced effective curse. That seems maybe worth it. It's definitely an argument to be had. If anybody has any ideas for what else should go in this shield other than those 2 options, I'm super open to hearing it. There are definitely more things we could do. I don't have a solid answer for this slot. It's definitely like a contentious open slot here that we could put something in. We have gone back to using Asenath's Gentle Touch. Other than that, the rest of my gear is it's okay. One thing worth noting, there were no good timeless jewels up to buy, so I went with one that did not have Caspero, which meant I needed to keep all of my stats. I needed to fix my stats, which I've had to take a stat node. I've had to get a disgustingly good ring with 35 dex and int. So we've got little bits of stats here and there pretty much everywhere, trying to maintain the stats. And downside, I can't go around and tattoo my whole tree, which is an exceptionally big downside this time because tattoos are significantly less expensive because there are just totem mobs in a ton of maps dropping tattoos on the floor while you're mapping. So it is a downside, but to do it we managed to get a Slumlord and our endurance charge generation. Up until then we just had these 3 nodes to generate our endurance charges and it was fine. But yeah, that's how that's all going. If we look at our path of building, we're like moderately tanky already. We're not in a particularly great setup yet, so it'll get better from here. With 91% chance to block attacks and spells though, we barely take any damage at all. We are only at 5.7 mil, but that's we're basically like at the break point right now, where like every single upgrade we make from now on will get significant improvements. I do not have any forbidden jewels. Both of my cluster jewels are relatively bad. They don't actually do the things that we need them to do. They don't have like all res rolls or chaos res rolls. They don't have 35% increased effects. They don't have high life rolls, all sorts of things, but they're what I have for now. Like I said, no forbiddens. I do have the Amanamahus, but that's pretty much it. I'm still using a mana gain on hit jewel right here. And I believe I'm technically slightly short on poison chance, or did my new belt? Oh no, my new belt capped me. Good. I was at 98% until recently. I found my own 98% darkness enthralled. It looks like that has fixed my poison chance problem. It was only 2% anyway. So yeah, that's the update. This has been a fantastic start. Not having Animate Guardians, not having Spectres made this so much smoother. Everybody that's played this version so far has been absolutely in love with it. I still think the perfect endgame version, if we're min-maxing, probably brings those Spectres and Animate Guardians back. It's hard to give them up permanently when you have enough of a budget. They're just going to be better. But realistically, once you're in enough of a budget and in enough of a good gear that you can do that, they tend not to die. The bigger problem is that they're dying all the time while we're trying to get there, and that quite often that costs us actual in-game currency, which hinders our progression to get to that point. This is almost certainly going to be the way we do that from now on. The way we handle it is we're just not going to use Animate Guardian and Spectres until we're in degenerate min-max gear. When we do that, like when we are upgrading into like proper degenerate high level gear, that's when we'll jump into Animate Guardians and Spectres and support Spectres and shit like that. Until then, this has been way smoother. I'm definitely reworking the League Start guide for this, assuming it lives. And I think a lot more people will play it because it doesn't have the shitty minions, and every minion it does have is just automated. And I think a lot more people will enjoy it. So that's all I have. I will see everybody next time. Goodbye.